This video is just going to talk a little bit more detail about the Desuperheater hot water preheat. So I mentioned it in a previous video. Right here we've got HX5. So what this is doing is it's taking the superheat off of the ammonia and it's transferring it into the domestic hot water. So right now it still isn't hooked up yet, but you can see the one spot there and the other one right here, and that's where the domestic hot water is going to be hooked up, and there's going to be some sensors connected. And the way it's going to work is, so back here you've got this valve here, and then you also have this here, and so those are going to open and close based on the temperature of the domestic hot water. So when the domestic hot water still has a need for more heat, this one up here will be open and this one down here will be closed, and that'll circulate the ammonia through here, through the Desuperheater, which is acting as a desuperheater for the ammonia and a preheat for the hot water, and it'll come back out this way and then flow over to the condenser. The reason that these are going to open and close is because if the hot water gets too hot, we don't want it to boil water, right? The domestic hot water, you don't want it to be more than about 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry, I can't think of what that is in Celsius at the moment, but essentially you can't have the domestic hot water too hot. So if the domestic hot water reaches its set point, then that will close, that will open, and it'll divert the ammonia and essentially bypass the desuperheater, and instead of heating the domestic hot water, it'll just head over here to the condenser. On the computer screen, if you want to look at that, you have to come to the piping diagram, and then you have to go to page 2. And so right now it's not hooked up, but you can see HX5, that's the Desuperheater and the Desuperheater hot water preheat. And right now you can see that if you look here, this is the hot water, this is the cold water coming in, this is the hot water going back, and if you look at the temperature, it's showing minus 50 degrees Celsius, and that's because there's no sensor hooked up yet. Once the sensor's hooked up and everything's plumbed in, this will read what the water is going out to the hot water tanks at, and right here this is where you'll see the set point for the water temperature, and so that will control whether or not the ammonia gets circulated through HX5 or not. So that is kind of the basic operation of that desuperheater, and when it will and won't run based on the demand for domestic hot water. Hope that helps.